Welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. We head to the European continent now to talk football on the show. History was made at the Allianz Arena in Germany on Saturday. Paris Saint-Germain secured the UEFA Champions League for the first time in its history after a blistering 5-0 thrashing of Inter Milan in what was the heaviest defeat in UCL final history. Hakimi, Kvaratskhelia and Mayudu sandwiched 2 goals from the 19-year-old player of the match, Desiree Doué. The result sent shockwaves throughout European football and also placed the club, the first French team to win a European treble, into a new stratosphere of success. Luis Enrique is now only the second manager to win 2 European trebles. He said, "I tried to keep the pressure down for a club that had never won the competition. Inter are a great side, but we were fantastic in our pressing. Every player improved this season, and so did the team. We prepared very well for this game to be at that level. The team was excellent. We pressed with high intensity. Ousmane Dembele pressured their defenders and the goalkeeper constantly. And since day one, I said I wanted to win important trophies, and Paris had never won the Champions League. We did it for the first time. It's a great feeling to make many people happy." Inter's manager, Simone Inzaghi, still praised his players for even making the final. "Clearly, we are disappointed and bitter at this loss. Clearly, we should have done better. Instead, we didn't play well technically. We suffered against Paris Saint-Germain. They deserved to win." Well, that doesn't take anything away from the work we've done. I congratulated the guys for the journey they've taken, which has been brilliant. Obviously, we are sorry for this final, but that doesn't affect the 59 matches that this team has played. Well, it was a rout of historic proportions, and with us to dissect just how it happened is our in-house football analyst, Leger Williams. Leger, we were watching the game together, and although we were prepared for what was to come in the sense that we spoke about Inter being a tiring entity, PSG being so quick, especially in the pressing, and when the scoreline came up 2-0 at the half, again, we weren't altogether so surprised, but surely at the back end of the game, 5-0 the final score. What went wrong for Inter Milan? What went right for PSG?
Yeah, you know, I was rewatching the game last night. I rewatched it twice, and I made notes. I mentioned 4 things, or I made mention of 4 things when I was breaking down the game. And I think both coaches summed it up perfectly. You did as well a while ago also, because the first thing that really set the tone for PSG was their press. I think, obviously, we can speak about how technically good they are and how their structure helped them to win. And I definitely will do that as well. But right from the off, it was very weird to us when we were watching this live. We saw PSG just boot the ball out of play. And
we thought it was a glitch.
Yeah, but what happens is that usually when a team, immediately from kickoff, they're going to pass the ball back, invite pressure, and then play it long into a 50-50. Football is played first with your brain and then your feet. I think with this, PSG were proving something, that they didn't want this game to be 50-50 whatsoever. If you look at the numbers of PSG players that congregated on that side immediately to second press that throw-in, I think that just showed their intention immediately, what they wanted to do. They wanted to win this game by simply outworking and outpressing this Inter Milan team.
But explain quickly why they couldn't just have passed it at the back to their goalkeeper to start off the game.
Because when you pass the ball back, as I said, you're inviting pressure. You pass when the ball is passed backwards in football generally, any team that's going to press, and Inter Milan would have, that's a press trigger for a team to step up. And if you're being pressed as the ball is going backward, it's harder for players to make a decision quickly. So because of that usually ends in the ball just being hoofed long, and PSG don't quite have the physical players up front to deal with those 50-50s. So it probably would have been like a 70-30 for the Inter centre-backs to win that duel. PSG didn't want that whatsoever.
What were the other points?
Well, I think this is the second key is the rotations. The rotations were so important for PSG, not only in this game, but throughout the season as well. And if we were to look at the very first goal that PSG scored, it looked simple in the end, but when you just look at it, it's simple here. You have the defensive midfielder in there, 3-1 shape. He passes out to the left winger, but look at how quickly they get these rotations going. And I wanted to pause right here as Vitinha is about to play this pass. Fabian Ruiz, who is a central midfielder, is furthest left for PSG. Desiree Doué, who is about to receive the ball, is making a darting horizontal or a diagonal run to receive the pass. Kvaratskhelia is, I would say, in the central position because they occupy all 5 lanes of attack. Hakimi, who was calling for the ball there, he's going to score the goal, but look at his position in the inside right channel. And Dembele, who's a nominal striker, is holding width on the right. And then when you roll the play now, you can see Doué receiving the ball in space. Because of the positions of the other players, DeMarco, the left wing back, is drawn infield in an uncomfortable position and is playing everyone on side. That's what the goal comes from. And it looks simple, obviously, because it looks, I remember someone saying it looked like a scrimmage goal. But when you really look at it, it's actually the rotations that really discombobulated this inter-defense, a very good inter-defense. And I know people will say, you know, this inter-defense, they're tired, they're aging, they haven't been that good over the past couple of weeks. This is still one of the best defenses in Europe, and a lot of credit has to go to PSG for confusing them and creating that tension as opposed to Inter being bad. And I said that PSG were just good all over. And as I always mention, there are 5 phases of football. One of those is offensive transition, and that's what their second goal would have come from. It was just simple hard work, Pacho doing all of the hard yards, keeping the ball in, and then within 2 passes, PSG were in a really good position and Doué scored that goal. But if we were to fast forward now, my 4th point was the midfield profiles. And when we look at the 3rd goal in particular, Vitinha, who I think has been one of the best midfielders in Europe this season, this is where it starts from. He takes this short free kick and immediately he notices that he's being man-marked. So what he does, constant movement. He's already 5 yards off of his marker. He continues to move. No one is going to engage because that would ruin the pressing system. But his movement throughout the thirds, he started the play, and then this pass was superb also. I don't want it to get lost on people. Again, it looks very simple. But there's a term in football called technical empathy. It's the way how you pass a ball to allow your receiver to receive that message that you don't need to do much. How many times have we seen other attacking midfielders play that through ball through and the attacker has to take a touch before they get their shot off?
Or retrieve it.
Right into his stride. And that was the difference for PSG, the superiority that they had in their midfield profiles, how they were able to manage transitions, and we'll see it again. And there's a lot of tactical elements to this as well, because if you notice, because of the movement of Vitinha and the interplayers being static, it opens up space between the lines for Dembele to drop and receive. So that plays in also to the rotations. Look how central Doué is the right winger. Again, that's a rotation. So this Inter team, obviously, they'll feel very hard done by. It was a tough result, but I think a lot of this performance is down to how brilliant a man we'll talk about in short order, Luis Enrique is, and how brilliant his team were on the night.
So PSG now have won this title in the aftermath of one Kylian Mbappe leaving, and he did congratulate them on social media. And I can just imagine what he must be thinking. But it moves into our next point of discussion in terms of the absence of a superstar and a team still being successful, because is football now becoming a coach's game as opposed to the game of the superstar?
Well, I mean, that's a difficult question, first of all. I'll say that because, one, in my estimation, for the past 40 plus years, it's been a coaching game ever since Rinus Michels and Johan Cruyff took over with the Netherlands team. I think it's been a coaching game since then. Obviously, there have been players that can supersede that, but there's probably been, I would say, less than 10 players who supersede a coach's influence on a football game. To answer your question, I'm sure you remember this discussion. I think it was with Brent Sancho when I was speaking about Florian Wirtz a year ago. Now he's about to go for 150 million. But
so he's officially world class?
Yeah, he's official. Okay. I was saying he was a superstar from then, and rightfully so. But I think it comes down to how you define a superstar. I think, obviously, Mbappe is at the top of the top when we speak about superstars in the game, but people like to reserve that moniker for only when it was Messi and Ronaldo and Neymar, and now you have Mbappe and Bellingham, for example. But a superstar in my eyes is when you are one of the best players in your position. How can a world-class player not be a superstar? PSG, yes, a lot of people are saying the team is ridiculously young. That's true, but they're also one of the most expensively assembled teams in history. They bought all of these players for big fees for a reason, because they were the best or amongst the best in their position despite their age. Nuno Mendes is the best left back in the world. Marquinhos has been a borderline world-class centre-back for quite some time. A lot of people would say Donnarumma is in the best goalkeeper in the world conversation. Same for Hakimi at right back. How many midfielders in the world are better than Vitinha? Joe Neves, I'm not going to say Fabian Ruiz is world-class, or Kvaratskhelia, even though I think he's borderline there. Dembele, I'm not quite ready to say he's a real world-class player.
He more likely he's going to win Ballon d'Or, right?
That would be crazy to me, but that's a different discussion. But I'm not quite ready to say that he's going to be that guy in terms of being a really elite player, because I have elite above world class. But all they needed to do really, and this is what good coaches do, they lost 44 goals from Mbappe. You aggregate it. You buy Kvaratskhelia in January to add goals, and you bring out the best in your other attackers that are there anyway. And that's what Dembele did. Over 30 goals and assists this season, and that's what good coaches do.
All right, you have about 30 seconds to just talk about Luis Enrique and what he has brought to this PSG team and the history that he has made now in winning 2 trebles with different teams.
Yeah, and he's only the second coach to ever do that, and he's one of the best coaches of all time. I know it might be a little bit premature for people to say that, but if you know me, I don't really care about those notions. If I see quality...
You don't care about being premature?
Not at all. And when it comes down to what people think, it's just, if I see quality in a coach, he has proven in 10 years that he can outcoach most people that would have coached for 30. It's not because you do something for a long time. It's not like, for example, say Ricardo has been doing this for 2 years. We see that Ricardo is great. I can already call him one of the greats. It's not only because I'm seeing Sir Lance do it for 20 years. Sir Lance already cement himself as a GOAT.
Right.
Ricardo, he's getting there.
He's a young GOAT.
He's world class in his own right.
Got it.
When I do commentary with you, I always tell you people tune in, sometimes not to watch a football, but to listen to some world class commentary. I won't even get into myself because you said I only have 30 seconds, we're going to leave it right there.
Right. Again, just being premature on the matter. But just remind me in terms of the prediction that you had ahead of this final.
I said PSG 2-1. I was leaning.
Where did you say that?
Well, Donald, as you can tell, speaks a lot when he's presenting. So by the time it was time to give the predictions, we already had to jump to the game.
So you didn't give a prediction?
It's documented in my phone and I can send you the WhatsApp messages.
It's fine. You didn't give a prediction.
He didn't give a prediction on air.
I'm going to start.
But he didn't give it anywhere.
I'm going to start messaging Ricardo all my predictions so they can be documented. Even though we talk a lot, so the predictions might get pushed up a bit.
It's only documented when it's on air. I won't use what you say off air to judge you, because God knows if I did.
It's time to get out of here. We'll take a break. Back with more in the SportsMax Zone. Stay with us.